The virtual campground is a community of RVers. We gather around the campfire to share stories, information, and travel tips to help you on your next adventure. Welcome to the virtual campground. We are so glad you are here, and we're going to talk about breweries. Who knew that when we started this 5 years ago that would be such an important part of our journey?
I certainly didn't. I mean, we drank beer when we lived in a sticks and bricks, but we didn't really go visit breweries, and craft breweries were just starting to kind of get popular. So when we get to a new city, we usually visit at least one brewery. We've learned a lot about varieties and just breweries in general.
Right. It's just a nice community place. In almost every town, there's a small brewery that you can go to and meet the locals. And
people are so friendly after a couple beers.
Taste some little crafty brew. By the way, cheers.
Cheers. Let's talk about a couple of our favorites.
Let's do it.
One is Guanella Pass. You remember Guanella Pass?
I do. Fondly.
Fondly. They have a place in Empire and then one in Georgetown, Colorado. And we learned there, not only was the beer really good, and they had some really fun beers. They have a kind of fun vibe with the women, the outdoorsy old 50s looking posters, but they had something I had never had before. You remember?
Well, I remember the Detroit style pizza.
There you go.
Yeah.
I've never had it before.
So I didn't even know Detroit style pizza was a thing.
Was a thing. That's what I'm saying.
Don't quote me on this, but it's a little bit like Chicago style pizza, but different. But it was knock your socks off good.
At Guanella Pass, they did it right. So we had very good pizza. In fact, we often still fantasize about that pizza going back.
Yeah, we want to go back. We tried to go back. Jeep broke down and we couldn't make it. But
that's another story.
Yeah, that was nice because we got into conversation with people there. We met the owner. So it was
had a nice patio that we sat out
patio.
on. Sometimes it's all those things together that make it a special place.
That's right. But the food was fantastic. Highly recommend going
beer.
there for the pizza.
Another place, Preston Rose Farms.
Oh yeah, Preston Rose Farms Brewery or something like that out. Yeah, where that was out in Arkansas. And we were there over COVID. That was a really cool setup. It was a farm. You had to make reservations. They set us up in these little...
like a personal bubble.
And they brought you beer and food.
Yes, it was a full course dinner, lasagna, that they had made from their farm. That was a great experience. Very different beers because they were farmhouse beers. They were made from ingredients that they grew there, so they had a little bit more zest.
They were a little unusual, but really, really good. Another one that I really enjoyed was Copper Brothel Brewery. That's hard to say, but it's in Sonoyta, I believe is how you pronounce it, Arizona. This, I think, sort of borders on like a brew pub, a gastro pub, maybe you would call it, but it was a really good brewery, but really good food.
Yes, it was very cool because it was kind of historic, and it was also, the brewmaster was a woman and the manager of it was a woman, but the men folk in the family, it was all family run, they also worked there. Yeah,
and didn't they have some themes for their beers that were all about
former prostitutes?
Yeah, former prostitutes.
Because it was an old west town that had one of the first businesses, was probably the oldest business in the world, and so they honored these women that are often overlooked in the history of our country of having to establish cities. They were trying to honor some of the women.
Yeah, it was cool artwork, a little bit of history, and
good food. We were there with a group, and really popular was the chili French fries. I remember French fries being good. Actually, we had gone there right after going to Tombstone, where we also went to a brewery. So that was a fun little side trip from Tucson.
That whole area down there, Tombstone, Sonoyta, however you say it, that's a fun little road trip.
Yep, a day trip. And sometimes it's an area that really makes us really excited about going because of the breweries.
Yeah.
And so one of those places that we love to go to is Fort Collins. So we love Fort Collins.
We do. It's a neat town. It's an artist community, lots of shops, fun place to hang out.
And they have a really vibrant craft brewery experience.
Lots of breweries.
Yes.
What, 20 or so?
There's 20 at least in Fort Collins, plus you add in Loveland and Longmont. There's I don't even know how many. I mean, and I guess you should expect that in a place that has New Belgium. Plus you have Odell's, which had a really nice patio. We did go out hang out there. So that was really nice, mostly just because of the afternoon was spent out on the patio. But we also did a pub crawl where we went to several in the area. One that I remember standing out was Zooey.
Yeah. Zwei or Zwei? Zwei?
It had a fun little outdoor area, cool interior, lots and lots of games. So
Yep.
they totally wanted you to come hang out, play games with your friends,
Right.
and really good beers,
Right. And
plus a food truck. Oh, and the other one we did that same day, Purpose.
okay, so it's complicated.
It's complicated.
The owner of Purpose used to be the brewmaster for Belgium.
New Belgium. He
New
actually
Belgium.
was brought over from
Belgium. Yeah. We had a connection.
He was the father of our son's roommate. They had a kind of quirky little brewery.
It was there. Now, we got there pretty soon after he opened. I mean, he left New Belgium, started this new brewery.
Very small,
Not
very
ours.
small. And actually, April and Ken, I know, did an interview with him.
Fascinating gentleman.
Yeah, definitely beer is his life.
Mm-hmm.
But then two that we really enjoy in the area, it's not exactly in Fort Collins, but very close to our campground. One was Grimm's.
Mm-hmm.
That was one of the ones that was a German influence.
Yes.
And they liked fairy tales, thus the name, Grimm Brothers. All of the beers had names like Red Riding Hood cap, and images on the cans were of the vanished fairy tale
A lot of
ladies.
fun character, German influenced beer, so it was good.
And then one that is really popular is Left Hand.
Well known. It's a big craft brewery. You know, it's on the edge probably of not being craft, but they have some mainstream beer that you've probably heard of and seen. They also have some really good beer that they serve at the brewery that's not seldom available elsewhere. One of them was one of our favorites, a milk stout.
Mm-hmm.
That was a chai milk stout.
Chai milk
really
stout.
different. Yeah.
We went specifically so I could get that. And they also are the ones that do the nitro.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably the only stout I think I really have liked. I'm not a big stout person, but they had some really unusual stouts, and there was quite a few that we enjoyed there.
Yeah, very good. Another one of our favorite places for breweries was the Cottonwood, Arizona area.
Yeah.
A lot of fun. You've got the old ghost town not too far out of town, Jerome, and then you're not far from Sedona.
Sedona is one of my favorite places, but I really got a soft spot for Cottonwood and some of those areas that
great
we found
location
good
and
campground
cool.
areas. Lots of really cool places to hike and to see things, but the breweries there were really good. We went to one which was just outside of Cottonwood.
Smelter Town.
Smelter Town. That was a fun brewery. They had some really yummy things. Good food truck and live music. This is a historic building. This was actually part of
Very cool building.
Yeah, very cool that they bought it and redid it as a brewery, but really kept a lot of the history intact.
Had a lot of charm from back in the day when that area specialized in smeltering, and really cool. We sat at the bar, had nice conversations with the beer tenders, and it was lovely.
And they said that the owners had bought this historic building to preserve it and also to help build community in Clarkdale. It's a very small little town, and so that was their goal. And like we said earlier, that's something we have really found to be true with breweries. These craft breweries, a lot of times it's a great local hangout. And this one obviously was.
And another one was actually the shirt I'm wearing, That Brewery.
Which wins for best name? That Brewery.
A nice brewery. Their tap room is a little different in that it's just basically you're sitting kind of in the warehouse, but really good brew.
That was a good place to hang out. Really nice staff there. I remember they had a great staff, and they allowed dogs in.
Yep.
We also really enjoyed Belfry, which is actually in Cottonwood.
People go there specifically for the food, but they've got a really nice selection of beer.
And it was a great place to meet up. We met up with quite a few of our friends there over time. So that was kind of fun. And then the other place that we went to was in Sedona Beer Company. We went there and hung out. They had a nice patio, so we got to hang out there. One of our most favorite and most recent is Asheville.
Yes.
North Carolina.
The whole
as far as
Brevard-
craft. Oh my gosh, how many craft breweries do they have there?
The whole Brevard, Asheville area probably has more breweries per capita than anywhere else in the world.
Very good.
It is a lot of breweries, and they're doing it really well.
Yes, they are. You also have some big ones in the Brevard area, particularly where we are hanging out was Sierra Nevada. That's like the Disneyland of breweries.
If you want to go to an experience, I mean, the food is incredible. The grounds were incredible. The amphitheater with music playing outside. It's just an incredible experience.
Fire pits everywhere, heating lamps everywhere. So you can go all
Tons
the
of
time.
people.
It does have a restaurant you can go sit in. But why would you want to do that? Go outside, hang out. It's beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, it's
And you can do a tour too.
very touristy. Beautiful brass gleaming kettles. I mean, it's the Disneyland of breweries for sure.
Opposite of that, there was one right off the highway called Burning Blush. That had a very German hall feel to it. You sat at big communal tables, drank nice beer that was very German oriented. That was very good. And of course, one of our favorites, Oscar Blues.
Oscar Blues, sponsor of Camp Carpe Diem. I mean, what can you say? Dale's Pale Ale from Oscar Blues, world-renowned beer, and really cool place.
We had some dancing. We had some fun there for sure. And then we found another one called Sideways. But it was very different in that they did not serve off of taps. They only had bottles. So when you did a tasting, they poured it out of the bottle for you.
A little bit different.
Kind of like a wine.
Yeah, another cool environment. They had a food truck out there, a couple of food trucks.
They always have a donut food truck.
Yeah, that was a nice little touch. It's a farm-based brewery, so they were growing things there on the farm that they were using in their brewery.
And that had probably one of my very favorite saisons. And the fun story behind that was their son, apparently, you know, he's grown up in a brewery, so he can name a hop. So he was the one that actually had built this beer, and it was very good.
Yeah, put together the ingredients. Now, he was too young to actually brew it, but he put together the ingredients and they brewed it, and it was one of our favorites.
Yeah, that's a good place to go after a hike or a bike. Talking about hiking and biking, because you know how we like to find a brewery after the hiking.
Yes.
That was also another great thing about Oscar Blues. It literally had a hiking, biking route right there next to it. A few breweries that stand out also because of their unusualness. So one was in Yampa, was called Yampa River Brewing, right outside of Steamboat Springs.
Lovely area.
Quirky looking from the outside, especially. Definitely a local hangout.
Very simple. You know, you're basically sitting at the bar that's right in front of the brew operations. You feel like you're in the middle of the brewery.
Which you kind of are. And they also were really kind.
Yeah, they're very nice.
So another unusual place is in Zion. They had it in an old fire station. And this was a really cool brewery because it was like 4 different levels of places to sit. The brewery happened in the back there. You could sit outside in the front. You could sit outside on the 4th floor. They had a pool table. They had one room that was this ginormous couch and a huge TV, so you could sit in there and watch the game.
We went back there a couple of times. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. And then we also went to one, the place wasn't so unusual, but the fact that it was Benedictine monks that actually make the beer.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. Good beer, great location.
That was in Oregon.
Nice t-shirts. So,
which, you know, there's another reason to like a brewery.
It probably wasn't the best brewery that we've been to, but it was a cool experience.
And it's like unusual in that it was right in the middle of wine country.
Yeah, that's right.
The Willamette
Valley.
Yeah.
A few other special memories. For me, one was Ouray Brewing in Ouray, Colorado.
You're up on the rooftop.
Yeah, and your shirt is from Ouray.
Oh, that's right.
Brewing.
And that's another one where you could go there after you've hiked. You could do the perimeter. We did the bathtubs, and then we went there after our hike.
Bathtub is a hike.
We
can go sit in bathtubs. Yeah.
And then near Ouray is Montrose, and in Montrose was Horsefly Brewery. Liked this for 2 reasons. One, some friends joined us there. This was during our very first CCD, so we had great fun there with folks. They do have good food. They had really good beer. The other thing, when we had Camp Carpe Diem there, we had a special beer at Camp Carpe Diem.
Yeah.
And we made it at Strange Craft in Denver.
Well-known, long-time craft brewer, and they partnered with us for Camp Carpe Diem to create this beer.
But y'all come in and actually helped do
it. Yeah. So we went in there and brewed it. I didn't do a whole lot of that. It was really cool. I mean, and that's a great brewery right there near downtown Denver. Highly recommend.
Yeah, we went back there and just hung out. So that was really good. So now let's talk about something that's important for campers, of course, Harvest Host. Harvest Host, of course, we've talked about this before. They're a great membership to have because as you're going en route from one place to another, you have these opportunities to stay the night in breweries, wineries, farms, etc. Some of our favorites have been breweries.
Just stay in their parking lot, go enjoy the brewery, and then walk back to your place and go to sleep.
Everything's all safe and good.
Yeah.
And so one of our first ones and one of our favorites is Booth Bay up in Maine. And you're just outside of Acadia National Park. They are a Harvest Host. They also let you actually reserve.
And you would actually have full hookups.
Yeah. And when you go inside, it's a really cool bar area. Very old looking, like what you expect in an old fishing town, actually. Right. Yeah, old school. Yeah. That's a good word for it. But my all-time favorite.
Oh, what is that?
Favorite. Drew Brew in Cle Elum, Washington.
So Drew Brew, good brewery, big space to sit in, small town, and so it had that nice community feel. But what really got Deborah there was she saw on all these beers, she saw one that was a glitter beer.
And I had never had one.
So she had them pull a pint of that and she just watched it. It was like a lava lamp. It just kept moving. But the thing is, it tasted really nice. So
See?
it was it had a gimmick, but it was pretty good beer.
It was tasty.
Just have someone in your group buy a pint of it and you put it in the middle of the table and just watch it.
It was so fun. Okay, and then the last one that was a Harvest Host is 1056, which is a call because the guy was a former police person. Yeah. It was like a house and it had lots of land around it, but in a really small town, Knox, Indiana. But the cool thing there was they had a band, which I didn't really expect because it was a really small town. And they let us just hang out there on the parking lot, which Harvest Host, of course. But they also had ciders. I'm not really a big cider person, but they had a cider that was a chai cider. And we had just come from Kentucky. If you put a little shot in that cider, I'm telling you.
It's pretty good. Huh?
It was pretty good. All right, so favorite beers. Do you have a favorite beer that you can think of? I know one of mine. In fact, this is another stout. We went to Tommyknocker and they had a maple nut stout.
That was one of those beers that was fun to taste, but you wouldn't want to have a whole pint of it.
And then my other favorite is a hometown favorite. We go to Dallas usually at Christmas. And there is a brewery in Grapevine, which is a great place to go at Christmas, called Hop and Sting. And they have a beer called the Christmas Cookie. I like it a lot, and it's a great way to celebrate the holidays.
For me, it's kind of like what you were talking about. You go to a place, and there's just this overall experience. The beer's good, the environment's good, the people are cool, and you're just having a nice experience.
Yeah. So, and you might be wondering how I remember all of these beers.
How do you remember all that?
And how did I remember the places? Part of it was because, again, going back to Ken and April, they have this book. And I am pretty religious at taking it with me to the breweries because we do like to do flights. And so then I get to remember that at Hideaway Park, I had the pink guava, which is a wheat, and the color and the smell and the mouthfeel and the taste, and then we can rate them.
Yep. And you made notes about what we ate and other things that
who we met there.
Memorable.
Yeah, left hand, very full because we had several flights. So this is a great option. I will again put a link in the show notes for you.
Yep, highly recommend picking up that and keeping track of your beer travels.
Yeah. So we've learned a lot about beer.
We have.
We've seen that there's a whole lot of varieties, and that the great thing is even if you think you don't like it, try it again because everybody makes it a little bit different. A Saison in one place is not a Saison in another place.
That's very true. And it's also true that when you pair it with food, just like wine, it can take on some different characteristics. So we encourage you to keep drinking beer or try it.
It's fun.
It's fun.
Why not? It's a fun way to get out, see the local area, meet some local people, and have a good beer while you're at it.
That's right. Well, thanks for watching. Great to have you here. Until we can see you in person sometime, we'll see you in the virtual campground.
See you around the campfire with a beer.